Hey guys, what's happening? We're back again today for another video. Today we're gonna be working on the Z, but we gotta get the Lexus out of here. We thought we were pretty much done with it. We replaced both cam seals, new timing belt, and it's still leaking oil. So we figured out kind of what the issue is. Apparently it's a pretty common issue on these 2JZs. This at least runs enough to where we can get this car out and get the Z in. What we're doing with the Z is we're putting on some wheel spacers. They're 15 mil bolt-on spacers. It's the smallest bolt-on spacers I could find for the car. And the reason we're doing that is because the original plan was for the Z to be like a multi-purpose car. And like, as you go down the path of building a car, you realize that it can only be good for one thing. Like really, it can be a focused car, or it's gonna be like a daily or something like that. But it's gonna be good at one thing, and then everything else is kind of a compromise after that. So when I originally was building the car, I put 10.5-inch wheels all the way around. So square setup, which is mostly good for like track days, where you're gripping and stuff like that. It's not so good for drifting because it limits the amount of angle that you can put into the car. So short of going out and buying 2 new front wheels, I gotta have to push these out away from the knuckle and everything like that, all the steering components, to get more turn radius. I already have a GK Tech kit for the car that's already installed. It's basically a roll center adjuster, and it gives you a little bit more angle, so it makes your steering a little quicker. And then it gives you, I think it's almost like the 55 degrees angle. It might even be more than that. But since I have such wide wheels, the problem I'm running into is that I'm having to run the factory bump stops, right? And so I got a little bit more angle out of it, but not enough. So we're gonna space those wheels out about 15 mils, and then we might have to drop the camber in to make them clear the fenders. But I'll go through that with you guys on the car. But that's kind of the plan for today. So get the spacers on, see what they look like, and then if we have to, we'll drop camber in, and then I'll show you how I do an alignment. All right, guys, so we're finished playing musical cars. We got the Z in the garage now. We got the Lexus on the street for now. Who knows? Maybe Joe will let me keep it out there. I doubt it. Anyway, so first things first, I just want to kind of give you guys what the car is set up like right now. Like I said earlier, it's got about 7 degrees of caster. And caster is... It's kind of hard to explain, but it's basically like, so positive caster means that the shock angle is more forward, like this, right? So forward is positive caster, negative is backwards. So kind of what that does is the more positive caster you have, the heavier the steering is, but you'll get more feel out of it, and also the steering will want to return to its original position. But like I said, it's a little heavier as far as like steering goes. You need to work a little harder. So like if you think of like a shopping cart and how the wheels are swept backwards, that's a lot of negative caster, but they're super easy to turn. But they're also unstable at high speeds. It's like if you get a shopping cart going really quickly, the wheel just starts wailing all over the place. So that's kind of the trade-off. Obviously, if you go too far positive, the steering will get really, really heavy. It'll be hard to turn in. It'll take the car longer to react, but you'll be much, more apt to be stable at high speeds. So again, like everything else is just a trade-off. You have to figure out kind of where you want the car to be and how you want it to feel for you personally. And then camber is the pitch in and out of the wheel, right? So this angle, if this is the the top of my hands, the top of the tire, in like this is negative camber, out like this would be positive camber. Really, on like a drift car, you want to run between like 3 and probably 5 degrees of negative camber, because when you throw the car into a drift, and as you're pulling out, that outside tire is going to it's going to take that negative camber and roll positive. It's going to give you more grip. You're typically not, zero camber on the fronts. Good for like straight line speed. It's very stable, but you don't have as much grip through the corners. And when you're drifting, you're not all about, obviously you're not doing a whole lot of just straight line speed for a long period of time. So you can win with that trade-off on a drift car. So I'll kind of give you my specs. Again, caster about 7 degrees positive. Toe set is 0. Toe is in and out like this, like your wheel's turning. That's your toe angle. And camber right now is about 3.2 degrees negative. We may have to go to 4 or thereabouts to fit these spacers. I don't know. I'll show you what the wheels fit like now. So these are Graham Lights 57Ds, I think they are. C's, 57Cs. I don't know. D's are like 6 spokes. I guess these are the C's are 5 spokes. Anyway, they're 10.5 with a 12. So you can see they already poke out the fender, a decent amount. So, I mean, I guess you could say that that's like, it's a little bit of poke. And that's already with about 3 degrees of camber. So when we take these spacers and put them on, that's going to go from a positive 12 offset to a negative 3. So I keep telling you guys about the spacers, and I never showed one to you. So this is what they are. I mean, a lot of you guys probably already know, but so this obviously is a bolt-on spacer. It goes on the hub, kind of like so. We'll bolt that to our existing studs, and then we got new studs from there. And so essentially that pushes that point of contact out, right? So that lowers our offset, pushes our wheel further away from all of our suspension components. And basically what was happening, you can already see, like on hard lock, we're rubbing the sway bar already. So we're already getting some rub here and there. And essentially, with the more angle you get, you start running hard lines into a coilover. There's all kind of stuff that happens. But also this tie rod here, which is what adjusts your toe, that will actually run, or the wheel will run into that. So you'll start, kind of shaving off your tie rod with your wheel, because those particular ones, the turnbuckles are aluminum, and that's what you'll hit. But see, these are your bump stops right here. So that is what stops your wheel from turning, right? So I saw the factory ones in. So we're gonna take these out and then see with the spacers how much clearance we get before we hit, and then we'll probably cut this down to where we have a little bit of space between everything. Obviously, we might end up needing smaller wheels because we're already rubbing here. I don't know how much more clearance we'll have. We're rubbing up here, so we got some stuff to work out. But let's get to it, and then we'll get it all knocked out.
could say that the fitment is on the aggressive side. I mean, that's out there, y'all. So, yeah, we're likely going to have to drop camber in some. Probably, like I said, about 4 degrees. That should give us plenty of clearance. So now we're ready to adjust the camber on this wheel. So I'm gonna quickly show you my little homemade camber gauge, how it works, how I made it. I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll get you within a tenth or two. It cost me about, I don't know, 20 bucks. So it's just kind of a handy tool to have. So basically, how it works is you've got these 2 bolts that are the exact same length, and they're on this piece of angle iron. And then I just have a angle gauge here that's just magnetic. You're gonna put those 2 bolts, you know, one right at the top of the wheel and then one down at the bottom. You use your level here. Make sure you hold it level, and then that'll give you your, if I can get it in the screen for you, your camber. So we're right at about 3 degrees on this wheel. So we want to drop the top of this wheel in till we get to about 3.8, 4 degrees of negative camber, and then we'll kind of go from there. So see you in a bit. All right, guys, so you can see we got it pretty close. We're at almost -4, you know, depending on where I hold my hands. It's hard to do this one-handed, but you know, when I get it straight, it's about 3.9 to 4, 3.8. It's pretty close to where we need it to be. And it'll actually probably drop in a little bit more negative after we drive it. So, but anyway, we got this side done. We'll do the other side. I'm gonna pop this wheel off again, tighten up the adjustment bolts, snug them all down, make sure they're good to go. We'll do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll get everything set up for the toe adjustment, and I'll show you how to do that. So we got our camber set. I got the passenger side. We got this guy set to about 3, I think it's 3.9, 3.8 degrees negative is where it ended up. And then the driver's side, got it to about 4.1, 4.2, somewhere in that neighborhood. So as you can see, we've tilted the top of the tires in from where they were previously. So that'll give us a little bit more fender clearance, because as you go over bumps, they're going to camber in a little bit further. So it should just give us a little bit more room to play with. As you can see, this side's not quite as in there. But the toe is off right now, so that can make it look a little goofy. And that always gets screwed up when you do any kind of camber adjustment. Your toe is always going to get messed up when you do that. So we've got our bars set up. So you need 2 bars, one for the front. I guess you can kind of see that one back there-ish, and one in the back. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a string alignment. So we're gonna run a string from that post to here, this guy, and we're gonna do the same thing on that side of the car. And then what we wanna do is we wanna get the string as pretty close as we can to the wheel without being, you know, touching it as we turn it. Then we're gonna measure from like a solid flat point, usually this center portion of the wheel, because you can get, you know, a good measurement from it. You're gonna measure from here out to our string, which will be somewhere in this general region. And you wanna get that string perfectly parallel. And the way to do that is you're gonna measure from here to the string. You're gonna do the same thing on that rear wheel, each 4 corners, right? And what you want to happen is you want the measurements between sides to be the same. They don't have to be the same front to back, but they need to be the same side to side, right? So if, say, you have 85 mils on your front measurement, on your right front, you want it to be 85 mils on your driver front as well. And say that gives you a measurement of 105 millimeters in the back, you also want that same 105 on the other side. They don't have to be the same front to back, but you want them the same side to side because your track width may be different or whatnot. But that means if you get those measurements all the same,
the way they're supposed to be, that means you have two perfectly parallel lines running down the car. And that is essentially how we're gonna get our toe angle, right? We're gonna measure from the front side of the wheel. We're gonna get a measurement there, and then we're gonna get a measurement from the back side of the wheel. And what that's gonna give us is our toe angle for each wheel. Strings run, you can see, one down that way, one down that way. And I'll show you the measurements. I already got it straight because like I said, it takes a little bit, but I'll show you real quick what I was talking about. So here you can see, we take a look, you're basically going to line that string up with the edge of that, and that gives us, was it 96.2 whatever millimeters. And on this side, I'm going to do the same thing from roughly the same spot on the wheel. Get our line lined up. And pretty much the same there. I mean, if you're off a 1/4 of a mil, you're not going to notice that. Same thing back here. We're going to be a little bit longer back here. So, slide this guy back. We're at roughly, what, 113.5-ish? And we should be the same over here. Should be the same 113 and a bit. Got our string pretty much touching there. The angle's different, but there it is. And we're same here, 113.5. So we're close. That is, as they say, good enough for government work. So this is the passenger side of the car. As you can see, we're going to take a measure from the back side of the wheel, and that is 17.25 millimeters. And then on this front side of the wheel, looks like we're pretty close, but and on the front we're at 20.47. So what that means is that this wheel is towed out. Like this, when it should be straight ahead. So we need to take the front of the wheel and bring it in, or take the back of the wheel and push it out. Either way. So that's how we're going to get that toe and everything straight on this daddy. So let's do that real quick. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, guys, we're still on the right front here, but as you can see, 18 and a bit. And on the, that's the back side, and on the front here, get lined up here. Pretty close. And we're still 18 and a bit. So it's, like I said, you might be a 1/2 mil, 1/4 mil off, but you're not gonna notice that. So let's move to the driver's side. All right, guys, onto the driver's side. You can see we're at what, 17.91 to our string. And this one might be a tad bit, oh, it's pretty close here. And 17.91, so we didn't change. When you get it right, they should be pretty close to the same distance when you get your toe straight, right? So if you have 18.2 on one side, you're not gonna have like, you know, 25 and 25 on this side. They're gonna be pretty close, you know, because your strings should be the same, you know, same distance away from the car. So you shouldn't get a crazy difference between the two. If you do, you gotta check your string down the car and just make sure that it is straight on both sides. So they should be pretty close. I mean, what we had, what, 18.2 or 18.3 on one side, and then pretty much 18 here. So, you know, 1/4 mil difference. That could be, you know, in the string. Like I said, it's not gonna be laser precise. All right, guys, so this is kind of what it looks like before
we take that bump stop out. Here is after we've taken those bump stops out. I just took them out for now. I'll shave them down, but this is realistically the limit of angle we'll be able to run, because this clears the tie rods and everything like that. So we'll shave down the bump stops to where it'll limit us to about this much angle. But as you can see, it's quite a bit more than we had earlier. So that's gonna do it for today. I'm gonna just pick this all up. I still gotta get the Z loaded on the trailer, move it around to the back, so fun stuff. So that's gonna do it. If you enjoy the content, if you like the video, give it a like, comment, subscribe if you wanna see more content like this. Be trying to do at least one video a week, maybe two, depending on kind of what I got going on, but we'll try to get it down to at least one. Again, appreciate you guys coming by and watching the video. See you next time.